Hi, folks, and welcome to the Meaningful Money Podcast. This is Season 17, Episode 3. This is the podcast dedicated to helping you put your finances in order. My name is Pete Matthew, and I'm going to share with you everything you need to know and everything you need to do to secure your financial future. I'm here to help you make sense of money. Here we are once again. Great to have you with me. Now, as we've said a time or two here on the podcast, retirement represents quite a change from life at the coalface, your pre-retirement life. You know, you've done things the same way, financially speaking, for ages as you've been building wealth. Now things are going to look a little bit different. And today I want to just go over some basic financial housekeeping that will stand you in good stead for a sort of hassle-free retirement. So after the main body of the show, as usual, I'll look at a recent review that's been left, announce what we're going to be talking about next week. But before all that, as usual, remember this podcast continues to be brought to you with the help of my friends at 7 Investment Management. They've been helping me out here for ages now, nearly 10 years. It's approaching 10 years, which is just incredible. So I'm so grateful to them for doing that. Please do check out what they're up to. They're at 7im.co.uk. That's the number 7im.co.uk. Little teaser, actually. You're going to be finding a little bit more about what they're up to next week, as it slots quite nicely into this season. Now, I firmly believe that managing your finances really shouldn't take any more than 30, maybe 60 minutes a month, and you actually don't need to address things monthly. But in order for that to be true, I think things need to be set up correctly in the first place. Otherwise, you'll always be a little bit behind. You'll always be playing catch up. So today I want to share the way that I encourage my clients to set things up to make their retirement day-to-day financial management as effortless as possible. This is how I will do it when I'm retired. In a sense, it's a little bit like how I do it now, even though I'm not retired yet, despite the grey hair. So remember, notes and links from today's show, they're at the show notes, which is the only link you need to remember, meaningfulmoney.tv/RP3. That's for Retirement Planning, Episode 3. meaningfulmoney.tv/RP3. Let's have a quick look at everything you need to know. Okay, just a couple of quick things today that we need to know before we get practical. First one is that everyone is different, and hence there are different ways, of course, of engaging with the day-to-day mechanics of your finances. Some of you listening will be all about the paper. You know, you'll have hanging files and folders and handwritten notes and stuff. Others will be paperless or striving towards it, and there'll be all kinds of different shades of grey between those two extremes. Now, in my house, we do both. If it was up to me, then we'd be paperless without any doubt, but Jo just doesn't work like that, so for her to be engaged with our finances, she needs to be able to see where things are. So we've got a digital filing system I use, and then once I've scanned something and saved it, I'll put it in the paper filing while muttering something under my breath usually. So while I'll give you some guidance about how to manage things here today, be aware that how you apply these things really is up to you, right? You obviously need to find the way that works best for you. And the second thing quickly that we need to know is that transitions are opportunities. Life's transition points are always opportunities to stop and take stock of where we are, where we're going. And that's why we set resolutions at New Year, right? It's the turning over of a new year, a transition. And so we tend to set the course for the next 36 hours until things return to normal. Now, retirement, as has been said, represents possibly the ultimate transition, except maybe for death one day. So it's a natural time, I think, to just look at how things are set up, make any changes as necessary to set things up correctly for a steady, easily managed financial retirement. Really, this week, that's all we need to know. So let's dive straight into what we need to do. And the first thing you need to do is to tidy up. Right now, I have no idea what the state of your current financial filing system is. I have seen all sorts in my time, believe me. Long-time listeners will know that I have a clinical aversion to envelopes, right? Particularly when people keep financial documents inside the envelopes that they came in. Sometimes, if you're lucky, they might have something scrawled on the envelope to give some indication as to the contents, but maybe not. Chances are everyone listening to this, though, has got some elements of their filing system, their financial system that needs to be tidied up and sorted out. Now, sometimes, you got to make things worse before they get better. So the first thing to do before tidying up is to get everything out into one place. This is Marie Kondo, this for you. I suggest you sort of clear your dining table or a large area of floor. I've done both in clients' houses in the past. Pull all your financial files. Everywhere there might be some financial paperwork, pull it out. Empty all of those damned envelopes and get everything into one big pile. Then you're going to need to do a couple of sweeps through that pile. First, you need to put everything together which belongs together. So you can start by just doing investments, pensions, and life insurance or whatever and other stuff. Or you can sort of skip that step and just say, right, every policy, investment, and pension plan needs to go into its own pile, right? Now, once that's done, you'll need to go through each pile and put everything into date order with the most recent thing on top of the pile. Then I would go through and get rid of anything which is more than 2 years old in each pile, unless it's an original policy document, which you should keep forever, or at least until the policy or the plan or whatever is no more. Or if a document's got some relation to tax reporting, maybe a P60 from an annuity or a pension that you're receiving, or a consolidated tax voucher from a GIA, or a chargeable event certificate if you've got an investment bond, anything which has something to do with tax, you should keep for 6 years. Now, if you're in any doubt about a particular piece of paper, then just keep it. There's no harm in that. But you really don't need to keep with profits bonus statements from 2002 for that Prudential bond that you've got. Now, if your hanging files are a bit broken and wonky, or you've written over the labels 5 or 6 times already, treat yourself, right? Get a new filing cabinet, hanging files, new labels. Maybe you can get a labeler. I love mine. There's an incredible release of sort of psychic pressure that comes from tidying up your files. While you're replacing everything into the filing cabinet, while you're putting it all back in, write a list of every individual policy, pension, or investment that you've got in there. Maybe you've found something that you've forgotten about. It might sound daft, but I vividly remember my very first ever client appointment as a trainee financial advisor for the CIS. And I was with my district manager in South Wales, and we pulled up to a lovely house. And my DM proceeded to conduct a really thorough, excellent fact-find process with these clients. And it included them pulling a small suitcase out, which they kept all their financial papers in, and they kept this behind the sofa, I kid you not. Now, 3 times, I vividly remember this, 3 times while going through that suitcase, they claimed that we'd forgotten about that account. We forgot we had that one with the Portman or whatever, or such and such a building society. And when it all added up, it came to about 15,000 quid. Now, I was a 23-year-old child at the time, and I just couldn't believe that anybody could forget that they had 15,000 quid across these 3 accounts. But since then, I've seen it happen time and time again. So pay careful attention. There might be some riches in their files that you've forgotten about. So, tidy it up. And then simplify. As you tidy your files, that should help you get a grasp of where everything is, if you didn't already know that. And chances are there might be some parts of your financial patchwork, if you like, that you wonder if you still need. And now is your chance to radically simplify your affairs. Simplicity, I'm convinced, will serve you very well in retirement. It just removes friction, eases your ability to stay on top of things going forward, looking, hopefully at least, a long way ahead. It'll also make life easier for folks acting as your attorney in future or as your executors. Now, in the last season 16, I did 2 consecutive episodes, one called Getting Current and the other called Positioning the Pieces. I'll link to them both in the show notes of this episode rather than just repeating them here. Show notes, remember, meaningfulmoney.tv/RP3. So you want to make things simple enough to serve your purposes and no simpler. You just don't need 6 different pension pots. You don't need 3 ISA investments on 3 different platforms. Complexity, I've said it before, is not a mark of sophistication. Quite the opposite, actually. So do listen back to both those episodes and take action to just radically simplify your affairs. You'll thank me for it, I promise. Now, number 3, build a system. So once you've tidied and simplified, really you want to build a system to enable you to stay on top of your finances easily. Remember, the objective is to get on with living, not worrying about the day-to-day management of things. So what kind of a system am I talking about? Well, you want some way of looking over your finances at a glance, having first updated various items so you're looking at the latest picture. Now, how detailed you want to go into this is entirely up to you, of course, but I would say that the minimum information you want to be able to gather is as follows. You want the values of all your liquid assets, including your bank accounts, and you want to know how much income you're receiving from the various sources and how much you're spending. And that's it. Seriously. With just that information, you should be able to keep a pretty good handle on the health of your financial situation. Now, if I was retired now and I wanted to stay on top of things while not spending hours and hours doing so, I would sit down once per quarter and collect all that information. I don't believe you need to do it really any more frequently than that. I would get up-to-date values on all my investments and bank balances. This is why you simplify, right? If you've got 30 different accounts, this will take you a while. Of course, most investments these days allow you to log in to check the balances. So as long as you've simplified things, it shouldn't take you too long to get up-to-date numbers. And of course, you'll have last quarter's numbers to hand and maybe the quarter before that and before that. And so you'll immediately start to see patterns. You'll see which pots are holding up well, which ones perhaps not so well. If anything stands out as being a problem, you can address it. It's worth having half an eye on the markets as well and the financial news, so you're not surprised if you log in one quarter and the values are down significantly. It's always important to understand why something is happening, okay? Now, a 3-month window really isn't long enough to make any kind of judgment on a trend, so really be careful not to knee-jerk react to anything. But as well as quarterly numbers, you could even keep maybe 12-month figures, the difference between your balances 12 months ago and now, as well as 3 months ago and now. You could even go longer and have like 3 or 5 year figures for a longer term perspective and maybe chart trend lines. Now, once I'd updated all my values, I would check my income and outgoings. Dead easy to do. Take out your bank statements and you'll be able to see, opening balance, in, out, ending balance. It's dead easy to pick up that information. Now, I would be asking as objectively as possible, it's not easy sometimes to be objective, I would be asking if I'm happy with my spending patterns relative to my income. Does this feel sustainable? Am I happy with it? If part of your income, in inverted commas, is actually withdrawals from investments, then I definitely want to be checking that the investments concerned can actually continue to sustain that level of withdrawal. If the investment is suffering, you might want to change where you're taking your withdrawals from, or you might want to dial them back temporarily. But it should be fairly easy, I think, to establish a trajectory with just this information. Essentially, are you getting richer or poorer? Remember, it's not bad to be getting poorer. It's not wrong to erode capital. You just don't want to do it too quickly so that it runs out one day. You don't want to outlive your money. And so by establishing a trajectory, you should be able to take action before it becomes problematic. It's just never going to happen that you'll wake up one morning and realize that you've run out of money, right? Chances are that certainly you should see that coming years in advance and take action to prevent it ever happening. It might mean some pretty uncomfortable decisions like reducing your spending, but that's the adult thing to do. And so you can see trajectories and adjust accordingly. Now, you could add your property value into the mix, or properties. If you've got more than one, get a net worth figure. We provide that for our clients and they seem to like it. I think we all like to know what we're worth. So asset values, income, and outgoings. Really, that's all you need to have a pretty good handle on your day-to-day finances, I think. How much detail you go into in all of this is entirely up to you, of course. You might want to have a rolling record of market values, say, so that you can compare those with your investments. But really, investing should be dead simple in retirement. It just doesn't need to be complicated. Now, speaking of which, you want to simplify the makeup of your investments too, not just your filing system and not just the number of different wrappers you've got. I think investing in retirement should be in a format that I call the cash flow ladder. Now, I covered that in detail last season in episode 8. There's a link again in today's show notes, meaningfulmoney.tv/RP3. But next week, I want to build on that in the form of a conversation with a gentleman called Matt Yates, who is one of the team at my sponsors, 7 Investment Management. And 7IM have a service called the Retirement Income Service, and it operates in much the same way as I suggest that you organise your investments to fund your retirement lifestyle, this cash flow ladder. So I'll be picking his brains for how they do it so that we can apply it to our own situation, if that is, you don't choose to have 7IM do it for you. So we'll talk a little bit more about investing next week. Now, last thing I think to do today is to update your wills, powers of attorney, and expressions of wish. It's really important to make sure that everything is set up correctly, just in case things start to go a bit pear-shaped before you're expecting them to. So that means your wills need to be up to date, right? You should review them regularly. You should certainly review them if anything changes, perhaps with your family situation, or how you are thinking about what you might want to leave to whom. So make sure your wills are up to date. If you haven't already, then you need to set up lasting powers of attorney. Don't delay, just do it now. Pause this podcast or video, make a call to your solicitor, or you could check out the good people at fairwill.com. I'll put a link in the notes to them. I'm going to be bringing you a conversation with Fairwill's CEO, Dan Garrett, in the next couple of weeks, and they're just doing some amazing things in the wills, probate, and funeral space. They're now writing 1 in 10 of all wills in the UK are being done via Fairwill. It's an amazing service. So wills, powers of attorney, and don't forget expressions of wishes on your pension funds, right? Make sure they reflect your current wishes still. Ring your pension companies, find out whether it's set up or not. If not, it's dead easy. They will provide a form, and just make sure that your pension funds go where you want them to go should the worst happen. And really, folks, that's all there really needs to be to it. If you want to do more and spend more time on it, then do so. But I really do think that you can keep your financial housekeeping down to just a few hours a year by doing quick quarterly updates and then maybe a decent annual review. It just doesn't need to be complicated. So I'm sorry if you're expecting something way more intricate than that. To me, it's just what you're worth now, what you were worth 3 months and maybe a year ago, what you're spending versus what's coming in. That should give you the trajectory on your retirement finances and enable you to take action in good time should you need to. Okay, here is a review by Paul J at 1, who says, I've listened to Pete for nearly 6 months and got his audiobook. Great, down-to-earth information, well explained and precise. Explains the reasons for wills, trusts and insurance, things that most people overlook. Amazing job, Pete, very much appreciated. Thank you. Well, thank you, Paul J at 1. Sorry, Paul. So thank you for the review. meaningfulmoney.tv/iTunes. If you want to leave me a review, that's obviously if you're listening on Apple Podcasts. If you're not, if you're on Spotify or wherever, just if you have the option to leave me a review, please just take 30 seconds to do it. It really, really helps because it keeps the show near the top of the rankings, helps people to find out about it and to subscribe. Okay, in the next few weeks, probably around late June, maybe early July, we'll see. We're going to be doing a founders launch of the third and final phase of Meaningful Academy, which is called Retirement Planning, just like this season is called that. Now, if you want to be kept informed about the founders launch, head over to meaningfulacademy.com and click to find out more about retirement planning. You'll see the 3 phases right at the top of the page. Click the right-hand one, which is the retirement planning one. Add your name and email address to the form and we'll keep you posted. But that's coming in the next few weeks. Okay, so like I said, next time Matthew Yates of 7am is going to be joining us to talk about investing in retirement. You're going to enjoy that, I'm sure. They've got quite a service there and it's backed by a lot of research. And that's it for this session of the podcast. Hope you enjoyed it, folks. Hope it was helpful. Questions, comments at the show notes, as well as all the links, of course, at meaningfulmoney.tv/RP3 for Retirement Planning Episode 3. Hope you enjoyed it, folks. Thank you so much for listening. I'll talk to you next time. Cheers.